And we're off. And afternoon, everybody. Welcome to quite a number today, so I'm really pleased with that. Today is a little bit different, this FGS TV one, because it's about an end-of-life product. It's about products that are moving from their glory days, which is the 3-part products on the 7,000 range and the 8,000 range. So these products, it's why I set up FGS, actually. It was on the back of the 3-part acquisition, which I believe was 10, 11 years ago.
2011.
James, 2011. Yeah, and so that's when I set up FGS. Hpe called me and said, think we've got something that you'll like. And fortunately, it was one to back, so I was really pleased with it. But times are changing now. The 3-part name, I'm not sure will still be there, James, whether it be Primera, and I'll come into in a sec. And so we have to move on. So people who've got 3-part 7,000s, which I can see quite a number of participants here, guests here, viewers, whatever you would like to call yourselves, who have got 3-part 7,000s, 7,400s, 7,200s, etc. What are we going to do? So it's been a massively successful range, and now it's coming to end of life. So James, I'll introduce you now. Well, I should introduce you to first anyway. But James Hall, I've known for many, many years. You can introduce yourself about what you've done in the past. He's the Hpe Global Field Cto, so he knows his stuff. So James, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us a little bit about what's going on, the end of life, etc., etc.
Yep. So as Pete said, I'm James Hall. I was actually, hence my background that you can see, an original 3-part employee. There are some of us left. So I was installing systems way before I think anyone else in probably left in Hpe these days, apart from some of the engineering teams. So I am immersed always in primary storage. We were having a chat just before we started. I have a nice title of CTO, but it basically means they just fly me around the world doing stuff, but mainly technical stuff. So we've seen the evolution. I've seen the evolution of the 3-part platform going from S class to T class to V class, and then to 8K, 9K, and 20K. There are still 50,000 plus systems in the field today dialing home. I won't give the exact number, but there's a lot, and they are in all kinds of environments. But like all good things, technology moves on, and we have to evolve. And what we've seen happen with the 3-part platform as we go, into the Primera world, and obviously the acquisitions we've made around Nimble is, we've taken a platform which had a very solid base and a big customer base and a great set of functions and features, and we've evolved it. And then when we look at Primera, it is an evolution and a revolution of the 3-part platform. There were things in 3-part that back in the day were groundbreaking that needed to change, and we've made those changes in Primera. A lot of those off the back of what customers tell us. Upgrades is a good example of those. And we will continue to see, the Primera platform evolve. But the heart of Primera is still built on the 3-part virtualization engine, which was at the time groundbreaking. 3-part invented and brought BIM provisioning to the world. And we're going to continue to evolve that platform for our customers and provide them a mechanism to move from one to the other.
Okay, thanks, James. So before we get into how we do that, what you should be looking for, I'll introduce Joe Pemberton. He's head of Hpe. Well, your storage channel manager at Hpe, Joe. Yeah?
You got it, Pete. Yeah, anything that goes through the channel, which is about not always north of 70% of our revenue, but it's about 95% of our orders go through the channel here in the UK. Well, it's via myself or via the team.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's get back to what we're talking about. Oh, quick one. Are you back in the office yet, guys?
No. Well, I'm not.
Joe?
Not yet. Potentially next month might start a phased approach, but
Right, okay.
it feels like we're getting close now. I know a lot of partners are getting back into the office. I think, Pete, you might have started.
Yeah, we started last week, or was it the week before? Can't remember. Oh, last week when the pubs opened. We were very disappointed, though, because it's in the city, right next to Liverpool Street. No one's got a pub beer garden.
And the gardens, yeah.
And they're not open. Yeah. So we've had to turn our office into a pub. So we've got the Tesco's, we've got the Jack Daniels, we've got all the beers, all the spirits, all the chasers and crisps. And come to about 4 o'clock, start having a little go. So tomorrow night is pub night at FGS. So obviously social distanced.
Of course. Like every good party.
Yeah. So getting back to the main conversation here. So the 3-par. Got clients here who've got the 3-par 7,000 range. I'll let one of you answer this. What's happening next? When are they being phased out? What can you do, say, with the 7,000s? So if I go with you, Joe, on the 7,000s,
yeah,
what can you do now? So you're talking 7,200, 7,400.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got the end of life dates in front of me. So new systems, unfortunately, they were end of sales life back in 2017. So we stopped selling 7,000 range quite a few years ago now.
Yeah. Okay.
And October just gone was the last chance customers could buy any hardware upgrades, any discs, drives, adapters, anything like that. 18 months from now, so October 31st, which is the end of our financial year, 2022, will be the last date of support. So at that point, there'll be no new security patches, no fixes. So we've got 18 months or so left before we stop patching any 7,000s that are out there.
Right. So if you've got a 7,000, if you want it to be supported, and most 7,000s will be in production, yeah, or on a replication site or whatever it may be, DR site, but replicated out, you're not going to be supported by HPE after the end of October next year. So you need to start doing something pretty soon now. At least get your project going, get it worked out, what you can do for replacement, how you're going to move, how you're going to migrate. Because the thing you don't want to do is order something start of October 22, because by the time you get it into January, you're out of support, your SIM's gone down, you know. I mean, they're very robust anyway, so not going to go down every day. We still look after some S-Class, you know, which is 14 years old, probably.
S-Class, well, S-Class shipped, in fact, S-Class was the first unit to ship in 99, and probably about 15 years.
15 years, so
the issue actually becomes getting hold of the spares. That's really what becomes the problem. It's, you know, can we support the operating system? Of course you can, because it's the same as what's on the 8K, and the underlying technology is also in Primera, but you get to a point where you just cannot get spares. And we don't want customers to be at risk where we're saying we can support something where we can't provide a hardware break fix because we can't get the components ourselves.
So I think the risk to the client now, they need to be looking at it. We're telling everybody, and so we need to start doing things about it. So get bubbling along, bubble, as I say, bubbles through the ocean. Everyone needs to start to think about what they're going to do if they've not done it already. I mean, these systems are likely have had for 6-7 years already. The 7200s, 7400s, maybe 8 years, that sort of length of time. So they probably should be doing something about them now anyway. But this is forcing it over the line, I would suggest. So, I mean, what about the 8,000 range, Joe?
8,000. So recently, we just put an announcement out that we will stop selling the 8,000 range. So the 7,000 was superseded by the 8,000. So makes sense. So it's actually the end of this month. So 9 days from now is our final date to purchase new systems, brand new ones.
Right, okay.
We've got a further 3 years for upgrades, but of course that's subject to availability, as James said. If we start running out of discs, adapters, drives, then if they're gone, they're gone. So we will try for three years. That'll be our plan. And then 5 years from now will be when support runs out. So just as the 7,000s are 18 months away, we've still got just over 5 years in the 8,000. So not as pressing, but it is coming.
And the thing I would say, and this is an important one, is, you know, we can't supply upgrades if, again, like support, if we cannot get hold of them. And the one issue that we have seen off the back of COVID is it delayed lots of manufacturing and stuff, right? You know, Pete, you're on the receiving end of this, as were your customers, along with all of our competitors. I'm pretty sure of that. But what's happened is because, you know, they're manufacturing old and new equipment, the emphasis for them is on the new equipment because it's the latest and greatest. And so what's not really happened is they've not really caught up. And so this is why that statement is, look, you know, it is the best endeavors, but it could change. It shouldn't, but it could. You know, we forecast out and we buy as much as we can, but these components, some of them are just not being manufactured in the quantity that they were previously, and we have no control over that. And that's what customers, just keep that in the back of your mind, is we've set a date, but that date could change, and just to be aware of that. So it's almost worth constantly checking in, you know, are we still good? Are we still good? Or watching out for the advisories that we send out, just in case that does change.
Okay. So I'm now going to move on you got 7200, hypothetically, yeah, or realistically for a lot of the people who are listening today. I'll look at it. I mean, we're Primera people, love a bit of Primera, yeah. A lot of partners, and I get it, probably don't understand the Primeras as well, and I understand that, you know, just that storage is a big focus of ours. But to me, from talking to customers, they say, "Oh, 7200, I've got to go Nimble, haven't I? And I've got 7400, I've got to go Primera." It's not quite as straightforward as that, as far as I can see. So, James, talk about the migration to Nimble, because to me, in my simple mind,
Yeah.
3-par to a Primera,
Yeah.
easy, yeah.
Yeah.
3-par to Nimble, I'm a bit confused. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's that going to be easy? Because these are different systems. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll take one step back from that before I answer that, if that's okay. So, you know, and I've seen this a lot. I've seen this a lot across Europe, and you know, in some instances, we're saying this message to our customers as well, as if you're on one of these, the natural progression is to one of those. What I would say is, you know, how has your experience been with the platform that you've had, and do the requirements that you have still match what they were 5 or 6, 7 years ago, or have they changed? And then look at the technology from that point of view.
Yep.
Now, you know, you might have, if I have a 3-par customer and I've a 7200 and I've had a great experience, you know, over the last 6 or 7 years with that product, then actually I would then naturally transition to Primera, because it looks the same, it smells the same. It's obviously a much upgraded platform from a hardware perspective, but the management of it, the features of it, the functions of it, the reporting of it, all remains the same.
Yep.
But if my requirements have changed, you know, and let's say because of COVID, I've got a smaller team than I had previously managing it than I did, some of the background, managing it than I did, then actually if I look at InfoSight's capabilities around the VMware integration and recommendations engine for Nimble versus Primera, it's much more advanced on Nimble. So if I want people, it's in the background. So I know exactly. You know, so actually, if resource is my challenge, you know, then actually transitioning from a 3-par platform to a Nimble platform today, because the InfoSight capability is so much greater, it's catching up. Primera is catching up very quickly. That might be a driver for a customer, or it might be the slightly different feature sets, or it might be, you know, the customer loves the concept of DHCI because they want that integrated stack management. Then you transition to that. So, you know, don't think about it, oh, if I've got one of these, I must go to one of those. It's actually, what are the requirements and what do I need to do? From a migration point of view, today, you know, we've created some SKUs that as a partner you can sell and the customer can purchase, that you know, specifically for going from, you know, a 3-par array to a Nimble array. And you know, the basic SKU is, I think it's moving 5 terabytes or 5 machines, and then I think there's a 10 terabyte 10 machines, and then a 25 one, and they're priced extremely aggressively. Right. And what that's designed to do is, we have Recovery Manager Central, which is a snapshot director, for want of a better term, that works across all of our storage platforms. And you can use that snapshot director to drive a migration from your 3-par system to your Nimble system. We also work with a company called Cirrus. And
there's
different ways. There's different ways to do it. So we were going to make some announcements on the 4th of May, and I would suggest anyone is, if you go to hpe.com, register, because we're going to enhance that migration capability even further.
Right. Okay.
But it, you know, think about it from a, what do I need it to do? What does my team look like today? What does my requirements look like? And then choose the right platform from us to migrate to. And that might be going from 7200 to a Primera 630, or it might be going to an AF60, or hybrid might still be the route for you, and in which case that's going to be a Nimble array. Yeah. But think about it from your perspective, not what we're saying we think customers should do.
Yeah. Okay. So it's fairly fluid. It's about requirement, isn't it? As it always should be.
Yes.
Yeah. So Joe, what are you seeing in the field there? You're running the channel side.
Yeah.
Storage channel side. What are you seeing? What people are doing? What's the movements here? And then we'll talk about how people are buying as well, because that's changed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So kind of as James said, we thought that if a customer had 7200, they might go one way, 7400 might go the other way, but not really turned out to be that. And we're trying to move away from, you had a 3-par, so it has to be a Nimble. It's all about what applications, what's the workload. So I guess the first easy question is, do you need simplicity, and is 6 nines availability what you require? Great. Nimble's probably a good answer for you.
Yeah.
Is it mission critical, the application? Do you need 100% availability guaranteed, which is what we offer with no special T's and C's? It's probably Primera. But to be honest with you, Pete, anyone out there, if you're a customer, happy 3PAR customer, we just want you to be a happy HPE customer.
Yeah. Okay.
Whatever it is in the future, whatever the answer is, we're here to support. We've got a wide portfolio, plenty of options in there.
No, got one of the things that we can offer, and this is HP can offer, the other partners can offer, us as a storage partner can clearly offer as well, because it's our main skill set, is a workshop. We can put something on your system, see what you've got running, and this will go across your whole system. It won't just be the storage. It will look at your virtualization state. It would look on the networking side. It would look what you've got, what throughput you're doing, and from that, you can then talk to the client. They can then see what they've got. And I don't want them to, but they could go to another vendor and say, look, this is don't want them to do that. Of course we don't.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the people listening here today, they should be going to their partner who they trust, who's got this skill set to be able to do this, or go to your HP account manager.
Actually, that's a really good point, actually, Pete, that you've just raised there. Is we obviously get if the machine's dialing home, and the vast majority of machines do dial home. So we tend to get, when we're talking to a customer about a storage refresh, we look very specifically at the storage side of it, and we do that because we've got the data and info site, and we've got the raw data and stats to go and look at that. But actually, it is well worth actually looking at the entire stack and going, do you know what? I know I can see the storage thing, but let's actually collect all of the data again, because kind of in your own mind, then that's when you see changes and say, okay, well, we weren't doing that previously, but now we are doing that, and are we going to carry on doing a version of that later on? And by having that workshop and actually discussing the requirements again, but collecting the data from the hypervisor and the storage layer is a really good way to, if nothing else, to kind of go, I was thinking about that, and the data tells me that's a good thing to do. And so it's a really important point made, is to actually, look at the entire stack and look at your applications. I mean, if you look in most businesses, 25% of the applications or the data tends to be one of the same, runs that business. The rest of it, the rest of it keeps the business moving, but what actually runs the business and keeps it in business is usually a small percentage. And actually sometimes doing that workshop and some collection and going over it again, actually gives you a better visibility of what is happening, because often as an infrastructure person, depending on the size of the business, they don't always know what's actually running on the box, because they're provisioning VMs. It's a good exercise to actually understand, what's actually happening on the platform, what service levels are associated with what's happening on the platform, and what does the performance capacity look like from a requirements point of view from that platform.
And I think from a workshop and the data you get, you should be able to go to the business and say, this is what we found out. This is what we've got. This is how much data that's static. What are we planning on doing as a business to move forward? So what are the requirements going to be moving forward? And then until you know those sort of things, you're pretty much finger in the air.
Yeah,
I want that because it works today, or it works another year. If you don't really try and look into the business, I'm afraid that's always been, always will be, infrastructure people, which I'm class myself as one, or historically I was one. That's what I did as well. I didn't really look, but really the business does need to be involved some way or t'other. What is it going to happen? Is there going to be acquisitions going on? You need to find this information out. From the workshop, you've got your raw data. You can make decisions on where trends have gone and what you're doing, but you don't know what's going on in the business.
Yeah.
If you don't know, you probably should try and find out. Even it might be NDA, you might want to talk to CTO, CIO, what's going on? This is what we are. What's your suggestions?
Yeah,
and then we can help with that.
That's a great shout. Workshops definitely tremendous value. Both partners can add great value to that, and for customers as well. I think it gives any IT manager, any CIO out there, either peace of mind that, you know what, things are actually pretty good. We know what we've got in front of us. We know we've got maybe limited time, but we've got a roadmap for that. But right now things are operating okay. Can we make tweaks? Can we do anything to improve the situation? Definitely. And James said at the top of the call that there are thousands of 3PAR arrays out there, and I had a look just before this. Over half of them are at least 5 years old, but they're still operating. They're reporting home. they're well within the capacity and performance threshold. So from our perspective, everything looks good, but we only know that side of it, which is where a workshop gives so much more information.
The other thing it enables you to do as well is because, you know, there's the lift and shift mentality, which is, I don't think will ever go away. You know, we see it today when people go, I'm going to move to the cloud, you lift and shift as is. But actually a workshop and collecting that data does allow you to say, okay, can we optimize the future platform versus what we have today? Because you see it so many times where I've got a 10 node ESX cluster attached to my storage. So I'm going to buy another 10 nodes and the same amount of storage. But actually, if you get into the data and realize, actually, I only need 6 nodes. And, you know, I've had 35% of my storage sat empty because I didn't ever grow into it. Actually, does it give you the option to slim down what you're buying? I know that's bad for salespeople, and, you know, but you know, at the end of the day, we want our customers to get the most value out of our technology. And one of the things that, believe it or not, we don't actually want is we don't want platforms sitting there doing nothing or sitting there half empty for long periods of time. Because if that's the case, either we've got it wrong when we've sized it, or maybe actually from the customer side, some, you know, project hasn't happened or an acquisition hasn't happened. But, you know, if you think about, you know, InfoSight's, one of its primary jobs is to help customers get the most out of the physical platform. That's easier to do when we understand what it should look like right from the outset.
Yeah. So knowing what the client's got, workshopping, but how we're purchasing as well, what you brought up there, having 30%, 40%, whatever it may be. And we've got a client here at the moment who is started off 90% over provisioned, and they're just moving away from the Nimble. We're not moving away, they're going to get more, but they're still 40% over provisioned. Yeah, but that's the way they've done. Always done capex, and I totally get it. That's the way that still 90% of the world. If you're buying a primary arrays, you capex it, but there's different ways now. When I say capex it, and even Green Lake is capex, and most so forget the capex and opex. This is not what we're talking here. But there's new ways of buying. I say new; it's been around a while, but Joe, can you go through Green Lake? We've done a few Green Lake sessions on this channel, yeah? Tell us about Green Lake and why people are going down this route.
Okay, so Green Lake works particularly well in storage as well because it's all about consumption-based purchasing. So like cloud, exactly. It's trying to provide a cloud-like experience, but with all the benefits of on-prem, of the security, of the locality, of the knowing where your data is sitting for all sorts of GDPR, all sorts of purposes that all sorts of customers require. But where it works particularly well in storage is that, and I did it for years and years, and James, I'm sure you did it when you were sizing 3PARs back in the day, was you asked customers, well, how much did they think they needed 5 years from now, 3 years from now? What was their, look back the last year, 2 years ago, how much your data grown? Well, let's add that much in. So maybe for 2, 3, 4 years, there's very expensive spinning disks or all flash disks just sitting there, not being used whatsoever. Makes no sense. It really makes no sense at all. So with Green Lake, you pay for what you use day one, but when you make a purchase, what comes with it is a buffer. So you delivered to site is more disk than you're actually paying for right now, but it's there. So when, and it's always when, you need that extra capacity, you only pay for it when you start using it. And that's really the crux of it. And that's where storage is particularly smart play when it comes to Green Lake. James, I think you're going through some examples of this right now. Yeah,
I know exactly. So, and you know, so one of my colleagues, Tony Sranick, who he's one of the field CTOs, but deals with numbers, as you know, looking at the analytics of our own install base, but also comparing that to the market. And if you look at the way in which people capex, for roughly 18 to 24 months, about 50% of that storage sits there unused. So that's looking at, you know, our install base, and then we compare that to what we see in the market, and it's very similar. And our aim is to try, you know, the aim of Green Lake is, everyone thinks it's to provide, you know, an as a service or a cloud-like model, but it actually, if I was a customer, I'd be looking at it as how do I eliminate that waste being on the floor? But it is a mindset change, because a lot of organizations get a pot of money to do a project and they have to buy as much as they can, you know, so I think for business, from a business perspective, you know, we can talk to the infrastructure people about the value of having that buffer sat there ready to go into but not paying for it, but we have to help them take that concept internally, because that's not how budgets have worked traditionally. And the easiest way often is to say, well, it's just like public cloud. Like you pay for that on a monthly basis. This is the same thing, but it's a really hard mentality to cross that boundary, and it takes a lot of it, and that education has to happen, across infrastructure, procurement, and whoever is holding the budgets as well. So, but we are seeing more and more organisations move towards it. But again, we've got to get into the mindset of sizing it properly. And I see, and the examples that I've had is, you've got a Green Lake. Well, we're talking to a customer about Green Lake, and they want their starting capacity to have a load of free space. You're like, no. The whole idea is if you've got 100 terabytes of data, we land 100 terabytes of which you pay for on a monthly basis, and we put in 25 so that you've got something to grow into, but you don't pay for that until you get across a certain threshold in it. And so from a sizing point of view, it's not only the conversation to tell you about how it works, but you've got to size it, get that sizing, the old sizing head off, and size it in a way that says, I want to be, no, I'm 100% full. No, you're 100% full on your committed amount, and then you go, further above that. And it's a big mindset change for us as sellers and for customers as consumers.
It is really tough. You talk to customers, they go, that's brilliant. Yeah, but I've got to put money up. I'll just buy it. It makes it easier. He's thinking, yeah, I get it, and I get why they do it, and it is it's a massive mindset change, because it's now used to say, capex and opex. The opex side doesn't work as much with new international accounting standards coming in.
Yeah,
and so that's going to be capex as well. It's in your data center. It's capex, whether you're purchasing it like that, but the account. So that opex capex doesn't work anymore. But it's how you're paying for it. And then does the person who's buying it really care that you might be saving a bit of money over 5 years? And they're probably not. And so it's going to come in with that. For me, it's a fight against the cloud.
Yeah.
Because we are seeing more people. Now, we deal at the higher level, with bigger clients. And so we don't deal with any small clients. We're all in the cloud. People are going to be bored of me here because I've said it before and other things, but we're seeing more workloads coming out in the bigger clients than going in, because with that mark, you all want to go to the cloud. We've got this cloud strategy. We're all going to be in the cloud. I was just about to swear there, but no. But that doesn't really work there. I'm going to pull that back out, that workload. That's what we're seeing. People are getting a bit smarter. This old-fashioned way, everything cloud. I mean, it really is last year. Yeah. It's the people who aren't that smart, who just think, I've got to go in the cloud, I've got to go cloud, or they're being pushed by the board.
Well, that's the most common. To be fair, that's the most common.
Yeah.
And I think the way to look at that is, if you don't get the economies of scale in cloud unless you do reserved instances, or whatever the term that the cloud vendor uses. But of course, at that point, you're reserving stuff that you're not using. And I'll give you an example. We did a piece of work for a customer, and we, the price of an instance is, let's say, for example, it was $90 per month. Right? That didn't matter whether he had 100 of them or 2,000 of them. But actually, on a DHCI stack, which is based on Nimble technology and DL technology, in a Green Lake contract, the more VMs the customer deployed, the lower the cost got, because you get the economies of scale, but you still pay for it in a cloud-like manner. And I think there's a lot of organisations off the back of COVID that are holding on to cash for exactly the right reasons, right? Because they need to. For those customers that have 7K systems today that are in that situation, we can help, remove the technical risk, which is an old platform, because older platforms do fail more frequently. That's a fact. So we can help remove that risk.
The law of science, I would suggest.
Exactly, yeah. But you can move to new technology. Get the benefits, the performance benefits, the availability benefits, and all of the stuff that comes with it, probably the manageability side as well. But consume it in a way that you pay for it monthly. And I think that's driving a lot of as a service conversations for us. Is that, and actually, the other thing is decide whether you want to manage it or not. Because we have a Green Lake managed service as well for lots of different things. We're seeing customers now have traditional CapEx still happening, because that's the way projects are driven. They might be consuming storage on a Green Lake capacity on demand model, where they manage the storage, configure the storage, operate the storage, provision the storage, and do all of the patching. And then alongside that, they might have a container platform where all they do is consume it, and we do all of the other elements for them. And that's becoming more and more common now. So that's the other thing is, within your refresh, what bits do you want to operate and what bits don't you want to operate, because there are options to do all of the above.
Yeah. No, it's the as a service side of things with the Green Lake, other vendors as well started to do it. The only thing from the reseller point of view, the channel point of view, they can be quite complex, and so it's that will smooth out over the years and over the coming months. But this is with everybody. This is not an HP thing. Oh, you should see the VMware one. It's unbelievably complex.
Is it?
It's about 50 slides of it.
Yeah.
And once I get past the title, I'm struggling. Yeah, and I think I'm averagely intelligent, but oh dear. Yeah,
But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you think, you know, this is why partners are so valuable, right? Partners like yourselves and other partners, because, you know, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of customers consuming all kinds of stuff, and we can't spend that time with them to help them wade through the complexities of that. And there's a really interesting thing is, and I've literally just probably in the not too distant past got my head around this, but you know, you see people managing people's public cloud, and you think, hang on, the whole idea was, you know, it's all in a single dashboard. I pay for it on a monthly basis. If I consume it, if I don't consume it, I don't pay for it. You know, and I was getting my head, why have we got service providers managing people's cloud? But actually, when it's complicated.
Yeah, it is. It's complicated.
It's complicated. Doing stuff on premise is complicated, and actually, sometimes you want that help. You know that, and that's, I think, you know, so important.
How often do you look on LinkedIn and you've got somebody you know, oh, they've just got an AWS exam, they've just got an Azure exam, they've had to study to do it, like you're studying to do on-prem stuff. So this cloud stuff being easy, it's still complex.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it comes from board. We had a big conversation which we'd be going in presenting to the board, because the board would say, you've got to go public cloud, clearly. Well, that's because you don't know what you're doing. You don't understand what's going on in the world here. But that's very hard for an IT department. But so I think the procurement way let's go back to where we were. There we go, back there, Sam. And I think the pointers here, the takeaways here, things are going into life now. So you have to do something.
Yeah.
You know, doing nothing, well, it is an option, but you're putting huge risk into your business, and you probably don't want to take that risk yourself. So you've got to do something. If you've got the 3+7,000 ranges, the 8,000, you've got to think about it as well, but you might not have to do it immediately. Second takeaway, be the workshop. Get a workshop done. Go to your partner if they do them. Come to your HP account manager. Come to us. We clearly, as you know, it's in our DNA. This sort of thing. So you haven't got to come to us just because we're running FGS TV. Go to your partner, and do that. But get it moving. That's a free thing. Yeah, you're not going to charge you. We're not going to say we're going to do it if you don't buy HPE, and nor HPE we're going to charge you. It isn't. It's free. It allows you to see what you've got, and so many companies don't know. So that's the next takeaway for me. Third takeaway: you've got to think how you're going to buy it. If you're being pushed into the cloud by your board or whoever, say there's another way of doing this. You can look into as a service from HPE with GreenLake. You can go CapEx. Yeah, you can go for lease, but you can do a GreenLake, which is a cloud type experience. So you've got those. I would take those three things as a takeaway. How you're buying it, and backwards now because it's just easiest thing. Get a workshop done. I mean, it is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you? So you know what you've got. You know what's in your stack. You know it's really not just the storage, and they're going end of line. You're going to need to do something about them. So. You haven't got my email address on here, but James,
I'm going to add one more.
Give us four.
I'm going to add one more to that. So,
go ahead.
This might be more related if you're, you know, an 8,000 customer and your requirements are changed, and because those boxes do struggle for performance and capacity and stuff. But you know, always come and ask what's possible. And I say this to all customers: is give us a challenge, right? That challenge might be like, I've outgrown this. I don't have budget until here. How can I help? Or it might be, you know, if I transition from this to this now, can I get some money back for my old equipment? So don't forget about those types of things as well, right? Because we have, you know, a huge circular business model that lets us take stuff out and we sell it into countries that are, technically behind, whatever it might look like. And if you feel like you're backed into a corner, you're one of our customers. Come and give, you Pete, come give Pete the challenge, because Pete will come and give us the challenge.
Yeah.
Right? And we love a challenge. I'm not saying we can do everything, but there are organisations that I've been involved with where they have been back against the wall, and we have done all kinds of things to generate cash for them to go and move their business forward, get off the technical debt and do stuff. So don't be afraid to come and ask for help, however that might look.
Well, I'll tell you what we did. This was last year. We did a deal where the client said they can't do it at the moment. They got a 6-month payment holiday. Yeah. And they got cash back for their own stuff up front. So actually they gained a bit of cash and didn't have to pay for a thing for 6 months, or didn't have to pay the first payment. It was a lease. So there's lots of things you can do, because HPE, we want the business.
Yes.
We want happy clients, and if there's ways of doing it, we can do it. Can't do it.
Pete, you're exactly right. So I was going to be one of my closing comments that we try and reward customers. If you're an existing customer, you don't have to be a new customer to get the best price. Like if it's car insurance, if you're trying to get gas or electricity, we give loyalty credits. If you're a customer now, we will give you something as a bonus for being on the HP journey. We will always do that. And James mentioned circular economy. We will use that kit for a better use, for another use. So that is even taken care of should you no longer want it, need it, concerned about having to dispose of it.
Yeah, brilliant. So there we are. I think we've about wrapped it up, guys. Thank you very much indeed. So last one, make sure everybody, you lot out there, contact somebody. Yeah. Don't just
be an ostrich.
Next year. Don't just think come next year and there's no budget until next July. Don't worry about it. Come, see what we can do. Go to your HP account manager. They should point you in the direction of a partner that knows what they're doing, who's got real skill sets. You don't really want to be dealing with a partner who doesn't even understand it. Yeah. Or a partner who doesn't understand it, if they engage with the HP account manager, that's fine. Hasn't got to come to us. Lovely if it all did. But so make sure you do something about it. So wake up, do something about it, and give yourself time to do something about it. Because if it takes 3 months to deliver, which, since COVID, things have gone, we've had some 6 months, we've had some 6 weeks, some 6 days. You just don't know some of the time. And this is with every vendor we're seeing this. So see what you've got, give yourself a bit of time and buy it how you want to buy it, but make sure your partner works hard for you. Yeah. All right, then, guys, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Pete.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. And it's good that we've Joe, we've got.
I know I was trying to find mine, but I just ran out of time.
You just borrowed yours off a tram, James.
It's company.
Did get my memorabilia out, but you can't see it. Well, look, there you go. Look, I've still got it.
Oh, very nice.
Especially for you, Pete, that was, because it normally sits on the shelf behind me.
I'll tell you what, that yellow, just a quick one, reminds me of when I used to do a load of Symantec stuff back in the day. But Symantec gave me a Mont Blanc yellow pen, and I've still got that.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Back in the days when marketing material was proper.
That was proper marketing material.
Proper marketing.
That's a little hint to you two, just in case. Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, I know you can ignore it, but yeah. All right, then, guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks,
Pete. Thanks for having us. Much appreciated.
Quick one. Sorry. I forgot. We will be doing another one of these. So if there's other people in your business you think should be listening to this, we'll be doing another one of these, I think about 3 weeks' time. But it will be out on LinkedIn. We'll be telling you when it is. It will be very similar to this. We might add and change a few bits that we thought we were rubbish on or good on or whatever, or with some feedback that we'll get. So the next one along, bring people along to listen if you feel as though there's a benefit for it. So thanks a lot for joining us. Always a pleasure. Thanks a lot. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.